If you are new to me, to Studio June, I'll just give you a little background about me, and then we can get into your questions so you can kind of see what kind of questions you can ask me. First of all, thank you for joining me. I know this is a difficult time for all of us, but hopefully this is a calm afternoon time for you, and it makes sense to just sit down and maybe get some of your parenting questions answered or your Montessori questions answered. So my name is Sarah Moudry. I am a Montessori teacher of about 20 years or so, and a Montessori parent of 15 years. I have 3 children. They are now 15, 13, and 11. And I'm Montessori trained from AMI. And I was trained for my primary 3 to 6 first, and then I went back and I got my prenatal to 3 training later. I had both trainings before I had children. So once I had children, I was able to implement right at home all of the wonderful things that I learned in training. And I got to see how that translated for the home environment, because what we do at school is very different than how we implement Montessori at home. And so about 10 years ago, I decided my focus was going to be working with parents and helping parents understand Montessori philosophy and how it can help their parenting choices. So that's why I come to you today, because I'm here to support you. I imagine you are all trying to implement different things at home. You're spending a lot of time at home with your children right now, and the days get long, I know, and they get repetitive. But there's some great things you can be doing at home with them, and hopefully I'll be able to answer your questions today and talk you through how all that can work for you. I know we do have some people logging on that are that found us through the movie Edison's Day, which is a movie that my husband and I made with our oldest son 14 years ago. And it is produced by NAMTA, North American Montessori Teachers Association, and it's usually on their website for sale or for rent. And for the month of April this year, they've made it free. You can go to my Instagram, The Studio June, or Facebook is The Studio June, or you can go to our website, which is studiojune.com. and get the details about how to get that video for free during this month. What it does is it follows Edison through what they call a day. I'm going to tell you that Edison, in that video, all the activities that they showed, that was filmed over a week, and then they edited it to look like it was one day. And I think it's great because it shows all the possibilities a young child can do when their home is Montessori prepared. But it doesn't show a temper tantrum. It doesn't show a meltdown. It shows all the successes that a young child can have when their home is prepared. So if you're interested in that now, so I won't say a whole lot about him today, just because he's 15 and he gets to decide his own level of connection with social media, which is actually pretty small. So anyway, I can answer general questions about him if you have that. But all right, so let's get to questions. If you have questions, please type them in the chat so when they pop up, I can answer them. And let's see. So needing some help with potty training, great. A 4-year-old, major regression, pooping in his pants 5 times a day. I'm sorry. That's hard. That's a lot of cleanup. And baby seems super interested and probably needs a reminder, and you need a reminder on how to start. Okay. So first of all, if you need a refresher, if you've done potty training with me and you need a refresher, if you go to our YouTube channel, which is Studio June Houston, there is a video on there that has kind of step-by-step, I think it's about like a 45-minute video of a webinar I did on how to start a potty training routine. So if you need a refresher, it's a good way to, it's a seminar, so it's for parents. It's a good way to kind of go step-by-step on, okay, what is the plan that we need to do? What do we need to get in place? That will help you. So I encourage you to go check out the potty training, starting a potty training routine on our YouTube channel. So that's the first thing. The second thing is our book, which is Toilet Awareness, which I think you have. For those of you that don't have it, you can get it on Amazon, Toilet Awareness, or you can order it from metalinsect.com and they will ship it right to you. It also is a step-by-step of how to start a potty training or potty learning routine using the Montessori philosophy. Okay, so let me get specifically to your question. So let's start with the 4-year-old and the regression. I'm going to start with the difficult. That's the difficult one of these two. Okay, so 4-year-old and a regression with pooping. So it sounds like, and obviously I'm not there every day, so I don't know what life is like for him right now, but I do know that when young children get stressed, one of the ways that it shows is through their habits in the bathroom. Actually, there are 2 ways that young children usually show us their stress. 1, their eating habits, and 2, where they go to the bathroom. So my guess is this is probably something just to do with like this major change in his life, right? So before we all had to stay home, your child probably was using the bathroom pretty regularly with very few reminders. And now you're finding this multiple times a day, poop in the underpants. Lots of laundry, lots of frustration. So a couple of things: be compassionate. Try not to ask him, why did you do that? And try not to ask him, you know that goes in the toilet, right? Because these are questions that as parents, like this just comes to mind, like, why did you do that? Try not to put that on him because he probably doesn't know why he did it. Okay, so that's it. He probably did it because that's what came to him in that moment. He felt it, pushed it out, there it was in the pants. 4-year-olds do not have a reasoning mind yet, so they are not yet thinking through all those steps of, if I do this, then mom will do that, and then I get to this, and they're not doing that yet. They're getting ready to do that with their brain, but their brain is not there yet. So try not to ask them questions like that. So it probably has to do with a level of stress in his life, like I was saying. So when children poop in their pants, it's often that children who weren't pooping in their pants and now all of a sudden are, it's often a connection with control, right? So children want to be able to control some part of their lives. They don't have to be in control of everything, but if they feel like things are out of their control completely, one thing they can control is where they poop. So you may want to just take a few steps back and think of how can you empower him in other ways in his life so that this doesn't become a control factor for him. So think about, is he making choices where he's contributing to the whole family? Like maybe he gets to choose what the main dish is for dinner on Mondays and Wednesdays. I imagine, say, okay, today's your day. You get every Monday and Wednesday to choose what's for dinner, and then we make it. And you can give him 2 choices. Like you can choose from A or B, but you don't just say like, imagine any meal you want and choose it for the family. Give him 2 choices and say, which one? You get to choose on Mondays and Wednesdays. So then he has something to count on and something that he knows he's in control of. Doesn't have to be about food. It can be about activities that you do, a game or a puzzle that you do together as a family. But when he feels that he's contributing, a lot of times you're going to see those other issues that seem like bathroom issues, you're going to see that disappear because he's feeling in control in other ways. So another thing that can help him feel in control is if as a family, you really get on a regular schedule. And I think right now that's really difficult to do because the days are very repetitive, and as adults, we often like a little variety in life, and when we feel like we're trapped in doing the same thing, we get bored. So I want you to think about your schedule this way. You wake up, you get dressed, you have something to eat, you play something together, you play something independently, you know, whatever, however, you go for a walk, you play outside. Okay, so you can even write these things down for your family and make a schedule and stick to it every day. That doesn't mean that that activity, you know, that the activity you do together every day is the same activity. You just leave it really general. This is the time we have to do an activity together. This is the time we have to do an activity independently. So then your child feels like they know what's coming next. They know their time. They know the time that they're going to get to play with you. They know the time that they're going to get to play alone. So when you make that general schedule, and I'm just going to, I just want to say, when you make that schedule, don't have it tied to a time of day, because young children, you know, from one to the other, from one day to the next, they may, you know, the timing of their day may be a little bit different, but their schedule of the day needs to be very regular. So imagine that, you know, they woke up late one day. It's all right. You don't have to wake them up. Hey, it's 8 o'clock. Everybody has to be awake. It doesn't have to be that way, but you want to make sure that you're following the same routine every day, because that's what they count on at that age. Okay, so those are my suggestions for the pooping in the other underpants. And then a reminder to start from the beginning for baby. Okay, so I know this baby, and I know this baby is walking and is the youngest of 3 children. So you just need to get on it. She is just going to take care of this herself, in my experience. Okay, so what you need to do, get her space set up. Just go back to the book and go back to the webinar, just like, even if you don't watch the whole thing, because I know that you're refreshing your memory on this, just get the layout of the materials you need and have her space set up. So it's not her brother's, have it just for her. And on the day you're going to start, you just start in underpants and you go through the routine over and over and over. She's going to get the routine like that. And she's going to take ownership of it. So when we help children become independent in the routine, they take ownership of the routine, and then they don't have to rely on us so much, which is what they want and is what we want. So just dive right in and start with that routine. So when you're ready, obviously, I always say the best sign of readiness for using the bathroom is when the parent is ready to fully take it on. So when you're feeling calm and ready to take it on, that's the time to do it. The other thing you can do with her is just have her go bare bottom and don't even use underwear. Makes it easier, although it makes for puddles. You just kind of have to watch for it and stay on it, but it makes it easier, so it removes the obstacle of pulling underwear up and down. Okay, so that's my best advice to get started there. All right, anyone else online here have a question they want to type in? Let's see. Let me refresh and see if there's any new ones that came in. Okay, no, so I will go to some of the ones that I got emailed, and like I said, if you have a question, just type it in so I know what you want to talk about. Otherwise, I will just, I don't know, yammer on and on. You don't want that. Okay, how do I introduce an open cup? Okay, this is a question I get a lot, and it's interesting. So because I had my Montessori training, my 0 to 3 training, before I had children, there were some things that I was determined to do. And one of them was to show my children how to use an open cup. So I've never owned a sippy cup. People find this fascinating. So I've never owned a sippy cup. So we started just with like a shot glass. And it's really tricky in the beginning, right? So because we want to offer water starting at the first meal, about 6 months old. We give them a little glass. We put just a small amount of water in it so that we don't, we only put as much in as we're willing to clean up. So you put it down in front of them. oh wait, no, I don't have one in here. Okay, so I'm just gonna, so you put it down in front of them here, right? And then if they grab for it, great. You just kind of want to put your hand over their hands. This is like the hand over hand helping that we do. So very gently, just your hand over their hands. If they don't grab for it, you just want to help them hand over hand with their hands, put it around the glass. You want to help them bring it to their mouth and just tip it. And in the beginning, they just put their tongue in it and they lick it like a cat or a dog because they don't know how to drink from a glass yet. So you just give them some time. They love the sensation. They might chew on the glass a little bit. It's okay. I like to use the tempered glass because I know it's nice and strong. And so they'll tip it. They'll have a drink. Sometimes they take too much and they cough a little bit. It's okay. And then you gently, hand over hand, you help them put it back down onto the mat. And then if they want to take another drink, they'll put their hands back. If they're just kind of grabbing at it and playing it, go ahead and put it out of their reach. And you can just say to them, I see it's distracting you from your food. I'll put it over here until you're ready to have another drink. That's all you have to say. And so next time you help them to lift it up, same way. And then eventually, before you know it, they'll be grabbing it and doing it on their own. They'll be pouring their own water. And so they start to just take ownership of all these things. So it's great. So that's how we start. All right. How can I get my 2-year-old to stay on the trip trap during meal times? Okay. Climb up and off and always stands up and sits on the back of the chair. That tricky little guy trying to give you a heart attack. Okay. So that's not safe. And that's the rule, that he needs to use that chair safely if he's going to sit at the table. And obviously we want everyone to be at the family table. We want to have a meal together. And young children want to be at the family table too. So a couple of things. One, if he's moving around and sitting like that, my guess is he's not too hungry. So I would just, maybe put the food away, help him down and say, we're not going to do this right now because you're clearly not hungry. So we're going to eat and you can go do something else. That only lasts usually a couple of times before they're like, wait a minute, no, I want to sit with the family and eat. The other thing is, if he does that and he is hungry, the other option is you can move it to a low table and chair and say, you know what? You're not being safe on your high chair that brings you up to the family table, and we just can't have that. It's my job to keep you safe. And so I need to move your plate to the table, the low table, and you can sit at the low table and chair, and we're going to have dinner at the family table. He will probably want to come sit with the family. He might test that a few times. As long as you have the same response, he will learn quickly that is the expectation in the family. If you find that he is not learning quickly and he is a tester and he just wants to make sure that rule is the same every time, and you as a parent are tired of enforcing the rule, take the chair out and just say, we don't have a chair right now because you were misusing it, and we will bring it back when I'm ready. Okay, it's okay to set these limits for your children because they need to understand the rules of the family. They don't know them. They don't know what you're thinking. And so when we clearly enforce them and we say the same thing each time that their action matches what we've said, we're reinforcing that I am here for you. You can trust me. I will tell you the rules if you don't know them. Okay, so it's about building that trust. All right. I think I answered that one. Somebody's moving to their low table today. Okay, got it. My oldest is starting to tell us no when we present with 2 options. Yes, that happens, and that happens as children get older because they know that there are more than just 2 choices in the world, right? They're kind of like, I'm on to you. You've narrowed it down to 2, but I know that there's infinitely many other options. So what you can do with those older children is you have to kind of honor that, like, intellectually they're ready for more. So what you can do is you can help them and say, you know what, let's look in the cupboard. We are going to choose, we got to get this down to 2 choices for dinner. Okay, and let's look in the cupboard. I see we have pasta. I see we have, potatoes. We've got whatever, just name whatever, a couple of different things. Ask them to find whatever's in your cupboard. What do you see in here? Oh yeah, we have that too. I see. So these are options for us. Which two should we narrow this down to? So you're really honoring that intellectual development and helping them say, okay, I get it. You need more than two options, but you can help me narrow this down. So invite them in to be part of that decision making with you. I think you'll find that they feel so like mature and like, oh, I've been included in this decision. I'm really growing up. That's one thing to think about. Is just, include them in some of the kind of the bigger decision making. And you can do that with all the activities of your day. I tend to bring up food and meals because there's usually some easy example for all of that. Okay, so let's see. Almost 2-year-old only likes to do what you say not to do. Okay, so those are some. So here's the thing with young children, younger than 2, around age 2, they're trying to figure out the rules of the world, and they're trying to make sure that those rules are consistent. So I often tell parents to imagine you are on a road with guardrails, right? So imagine your young child is just driving down the middle, not driving, but whatever. They're the car, they're not driving. They're this car going down the middle of the road. Different personalities respond differently to this. Like some personalities are just going to stay right down the middle of the road, and every once in a while, maybe they'll bounce off that guardrail. Those guardrails, those are the rules that keep us in the right lane, okay? There are other personalities that just drive like this, right? Like they're just going to bounce off of every guardrail at every opportunity. Those children are testing a lot. That's what they're doing. They're testing. It's a healthy thing for them to test, but what they need from you is they need a consistent answer. So every time they test that rule, you, same tone of voice, have the same response. And as a parent, you can feel like a broken record. So if you are feeling like the police officer always enforcing the rules and you're getting tired of it, you have to move your child from that situation and put him in another situation where it is not, you're not going to have to enforce the rules all the time. There are times when absolutely you are going to feel like you're always enforcing these rules and always reminding them that we don't do that, or that's not safe, or that's not how that's used, or I'm going to put that away because it seems like you can't handle it right now. And the reason I can rattle these off is because I have 3 children of my own, and I have kind of one of each in this guardrail scenario. And so if you have them in that situation, and they're going to hit the guardrail, you have to guide them back toward the center. And so you either remove the obstacle, which is, I see you can't handle that right now, we're going into a different space. Or I see you can't handle that right now, I'm going to put it away so that you can't reach it. So you have to change the environment so that you're not having to enforce the rule. If it comes to safety, you have to be on it. If it's something that's going to hurt them, one of my children used to just dart into the street, and I was like, what? But we were holding hands and walking on the sidewalk. So I knew I had to change something about how we were going on walks, because it's not okay to dart into the street. So we had to change something about how we were doing it in order to keep him safe, and we had to change it right away. If it's not about safety, what you can do is, like, if they keep touching something and it's not, it's not going to hurt them, you just would prefer if they didn't touch it. Here's the thing. if you've said no to it and they're the type of child that really wants to test that rule, they're going to keep going back to it. If you turn away and you don't see them touch it, you don't have to say anything. So a lot of times what they do is, because they're testing the rules, they'll go to do it, like touch something, but they'll look at you for your reaction. Don't make eye contact, just look away, because they want to tell you, I know the rule. The rule is I'm not supposed to touch this, and then you say that. And I'm not supposed to touch this, and you say that. So they know the rule. They're just trying to confirm it with you. So if you're tired of it, just turn away and don't see it. And that's something you can do if it's not a safety issue. Okay. All right, we've got a hitting issue with a young child of round 2. So with the question that just came in about hitting, if you could just chat with me a little bit and let me know, is the hitting new since we are all cooped up in our homes, or was that happening before? So I'll just wait for that response, because it's kind of, you know, the stress level on children right now is high, although it may not feel like it. It may feel like we're just living our lives together. But you know, that irritability that you're feeling a little bit like, oh, I just want to go hang out with my friends on a patio and have a glass of wine. You know that feeling? Because I have that feeling. Some of that is kind of like that same feeling bubbles up in our young children too. So, okay, so this was happening before. I just got the message that this was happening before. So a lot of times when a young child hits or bites, does that kind of aggressive behavior that we might put in aggression, it's reactionary, and it's often, so there's different reasons they do it. I'm going to talk about the reactionary one. Reactionary is, I want something to stop or change, or I want that toy, or I want your attention, something like that, and I want it quickly, and I don't have the words to express it right away. So it takes a lot of mental energy and getting all of this stuff, you know, like the words to come out and the idea and like being able to form the words, that takes so much to get out. And young children don't have the patience or the will to wait for all that to come together and be like, I would like that toy back. So they don't have the time to do that, right? They're reactionary. They are responding to the stimulus, which was, I didn't like that. And that could be, they didn't like what you said, mom or dad, or that that you're saying it's time to eat. They don't like that, and so they just lash out and they hit you. And sometimes it's when you're holding them and then they smack you right in the face. Been smacked in the face a few times. And it's just their way of expressing their emotion of that moment. So if that's the case, I always encourage parents to be honest. And it's okay to protect yourself is the other thing. It's okay to put them down and say, I don't like it when you do that. And that's all it has to be. You don't have to explain a whole lot. All you have to say is you don't like it, and you can show them that you are going to distance yourself from them because that's not something you want to be subjected to. Okay, it's okay to protect yourself. And it's okay to empower your older children. The same thing. If you have a younger child and they hit the older one, you say to them, let him know you don't like that and walk away. You do not have to stand there and take that. And we're empowering our children like, oh, I don't have to be a part of this. I can separate myself from this. So what that does is, one, it gives your young child some time to hear that language coming back. And it also, it makes that physical separation so that they're not so close and reactionary to you, which helps. And the thing is, with repetition and consistency and a calm voice, they will learn over time and they will be able to access their language. So they can't right now. They need time, and they need kind of that modeling from you of how to protect yourself and protect your space and be honest. Okay, so that's the reactionary. I was going to say one other thing. Sometimes it's not about, well, it is about reaction, but it's not reactionary. So sometimes if they've been successful by hitting or biting, they've been successful in getting what they want out of it, they'll try it again. Like, oh, this worked last time. Now, young children are not thinking through it in that way. Like I said, they don't have a reasoning mind. So they are, they're just doing what worked, right? Like this worked, so they do it again. So that doesn't mean that you can't, I would go back and do the same thing I said before, the same response. So you kind of, okay, we'll reset, because last time I gave him exactly what he wanted when that happened, because I wanted it to stop. Just reset, and next time, be honest, put him down or separate yourself from him and say, I don't want to be near that. And then the other time, sometimes also it's a testing thing. Like, sometimes if we have like an expression change when they hit us, because you can be really surprised, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, what was that? Like, why did you do that? If you made a different expression, sometimes they're little scientists, so sometimes they'll experiment by hitting you again to see if they can get it, that expression to come back. So again, just reset, be like, okay, if that happens again, I'm just gonna, not react or whatever it is. So you might have to do a little reset on the parent part. Okay, I think we got through that one. Anyone else online right now with a question in the chat? Okay. All right, so I'm going to go to my email and see what another one is. My child keeps following me and whining. How do I make it stop? I feel like, I feel ya. It's so hard, right? Like, you just want to separate yourself, and then like every time you turn around, there's this young person following you around and kind of has a whiny voice, and you just want to make it stop. It's hard. So one, try and be compassionate. There's some emotion coming through that whine, that maybe you can hear the real message through the whining. I think it's hard. I've heard parents say things like, oh, I can't hear you when you're whining, like say that back to them. And it's kind of a lie, right? Like, clearly you can hear them because you're responding to it. So what you might want to just say to them is, I hear that you want to talk with me. It is much easier if you could use a calm voice. Can you try and take a deep breath and just tell me? And if you get down on their level and you look at them in their eyes, when I talk to young children, I often hold their hands and I look right in their eyes and I say, can you try and tell me in a calm voice so I can understand? Because sometimes they get all wrapped up in this whining and they don't quite know that they're doing it. They don't necessarily hear it as being different. And so give them a moment to maybe take a deep breath. They don't have that internal dialogue yet, so it's not like they've thought through their question before they've asked it. Just give them a moment. Say, can you tell me in a calm voice? And then when they take a moment and do that, afterward you can say something like, thank you. That really helps me when you can talk to me that way. So you're really just like pointing out that this type of communication works better for you. And so hopefully they can start to, as they become older, they can start to become more conscious of the tone of voice that they're using and how they're approaching you. So sometimes children just get, even older children, that just get so in their head sometimes they don't realize what's happening around them. So taking a moment, looking them in their eye and telling them, like kind of point of consciousness, bringing them into the moment and saying, this is what's happening right now. Can we communicate better? It's okay to say that to children. Okay. The following you around part is going to be a little bit hard while we're all in our homes like this, because you can't really get away. But it's okay to take a moment away from your child, and it's okay to tell them that, as long as they're safe. They're in a safe space and they've got activities to do, whatever it is, you can say, I'm going to need a moment to myself. Go in your room, close the door. It's okay. You can have a moment to yourself. And I encourage you to take that, because I think that those moments are really what keep us grounded as parents when we are in the thick of the nonstop parenting right now. You are going to need a moment to yourself. So I encourage you to do that. All right. Okay. Is Montessori for every child? So yes, is my short answer. Montessori is for every child. Many people have different ideas about what Montessori is, and even different Montessori schools kind of have a different idea about what Montessori is. It's interpreted in different ways. So people may tell you something is Montessori or isn't Montessori. I'm going to say, because it's so open and left for interpretation, that whatever kind of you believe it to be is what it is for you. For me, I think Montessori is how we live with children, and how we involve them in our lives, and how we don't live around them, we live with them. I think it's how we respect them and their development, and how we set limits for them because we respect them, and how we create opportunity for them because we want them to actualize themselves. So obviously there's a lot in that, and some of those statements are vague, but I think that's the beauty of Montessori. If we are Montessori parents, we are doing the best with what we have and offering our children opportunity with limits. And we are helping them to build their community and their society, which is the next society, right? We're going to get old and not be in control anymore. They're going to be the adults, and we want them to do the best with this world that they can. So as far as a child going to a Montessori school, like I said, every school has a little bit different interpretation of what that is. Within the context of a Montessori classroom, there are certain materials that need to exist, and then those materials are presented in a particular order based on your child's individual needs. So that, again, is the beauty of Montessori, is it's so individual. And the only way we can know what a child is ready for is by observing them. So if we spend the time to watch and see their level of interest and engagement, we will know what comes next for them, and we will be ready to present it in that moment. Sometimes we miss it. Teachers are only human, so sometimes they miss that moment, but sometimes they're right on. And the more they observe and respond based on those observations, the more successful they are as a teacher, I would say. So I think Montessori is for every child, because every activity we present to them should be presented at the moment, well, not that the moment that they can be successful, but the moment that they're open to the opportunity of learning that particular skill or technique or whatever it is. And then because we hit that interest point at just that moment, they're going to repeat until they perfect it and master it. And then they're going to move on to the next thing. If we present something to a child and they master it and they're gone, we're actually too late. So we want children to work toward the mastery. And if a child isn't necessarily interested in that activity, it is really just for, if a child's in a Montessori school, it is for that teacher to step back and observe and say, okay, well, what is this child ready for? let me see how is this child interacting with the world, and what is it that they want to know, and how can I pair that with all the things that I know they need to know. So that's the art of Montessori teaching, I think, in a nutshell. So I don't know if that specifically answered the question, because I don't know if the child is, the Montessori school that's coming up. But yes, Montessori is for every child. It's for active children. It is for kind of more, I don't want to say calm children, and I don't want to say lethargic, children that seem lazy even. Yeah, Montessori is for them. So a real challenge in Montessori is Montessori teachers, Montessori parents, we're constantly trying to help our young children even out that personality, right? So we have these young children in our communities that are pure personality. They're coming into the world like very strong extrovert or introvert or whatever it is, the way they approach the world. And we're going to help them balance that so that they can be an active member and a very, a contributing member to our community, to their community, to society. And we all know that if you come in with like a personality where you're unwilling to work with different types of people, it's, that's maybe not the most successful or, the best way to come into any community. So we're helping children to balance that and be aware of other people and be aware of themselves. And yes, it's a process. So there's no reason to think that a young child that seems a certain way doesn't have the potential to have all these other different aspects of their personality in there. They just haven't been actualized yet. So I can't imagine how you could say to anyone, actually about anything, like your child is or isn't a certain way. Because I feel like even with my own children, like I'm still finding out what they are or what they aren't, or who they want to be or who they're not going to be. I mean, I feel like even, as a parent, I'm still figuring that stuff out about myself. So like to determine what is or isn't for me, before my 3rd birthday, that just doesn't seem fair. Anyway, okay, that went off on a whole other thing because that was about me. Sorry, I'm not gonna make it about me. So anyone in my chat have any other questions coming up? You guys are all still hanging in there. I see everyone that's logged on is hanging in, so it must be somewhat interesting. All right, I guess we're coming up on about 45 minutes in here. So let me do another one from my email. And if there's nothing else, we can sign off. But if you do have more questions on the chat, now is the time to get them in. Okay. How do I help my child become more independent with dressing? So this is a great question, because I see this a lot. And one of the things that happens with learning to use the toilet is children are really held up by the fact that they can't dress or undress themselves, because that is part of the independence part, right? So you want to, if you have a young child and you want to help your child become more independent in dressing, one, you kind of have to examine what kind of clothes you're offering. So just t-shirts and like knit shorts or pants is really what you need. Velcro shoes. You want to not create too much. If they're just becoming independent in dressing, you want to keep those obstacles low. As they're independent in dressing, you can increase the obstacles to challenge them. For instance, add on, like shoes that tie or shirts that button, but I wouldn't do that until they are independent in dressing. So to help a young child put a t-shirt on, you want to make sure that the hole where the head goes is large and doesn't have snaps on it. Okay, that's going to be a hindrance to their putting the shirt on. Young children have big heads in proportion to the rest of their body, so you want to make sure that they're not getting stuck in that head hole. So that's one thing I think you probably have all noticed, that some children actually kind of freak out a little bit if they get stuck in their shirt If it might be it's dark, or it's like a feeling that they don't want. I always imagine that it's like they have like flashbacks to birth or something when their head is stuck in that hole. But that's just made up. That's not like a real thing. That's just me. Okay, so if you're going to help them put a t-shirt on, you lay the t-shirt flat in front of them, right? And you can, with the opening the hem toward them, and you can help them put it on by help them slide their hands on the inside, and they put one hand through each sleeve, so the hands are out. And then they can grab the neck, and they want to scrunch it up all the way to the hem. So now they have the back of the shirt in their hands, but their hands are through the whole armholes, right? And then they just put it over their head and pull it down and put their arms out. It's the easiest way to help a young child put a t-shirt on. Once they've got that, then they start to really want to be involved in dressing. They're like, oh, I got that. So I would start with a t-shirt, and it can be, actually, you can put this, although it's a very practical thing, you know, every morning or maybe multiple times a day, they need to change their clothes. You can put like a t-shirt that you know is maybe even oversized a little bit, so it's easier for that, not too much fabric, but it's a size or two bigger, so you know they can easily put it on. You can just fold that up, put it in a basket on their work shelf, and one of the activities they can do is practice putting a shirt on. I often at the studio, I'm sure those of you that have been at the studio with us know, I put a little basket of socks out, and some children just like to learn how to fold the socks. Other children are really working on how to put socks on. It's a real activity, develops concentration, they get to repeat it over and over again. It's a care of self activity, all of that. You can put that on the shelf. Okay, so it looks like no other questions came in. So I think I've answered all your questions for today, or I hope you have. I'm going to do another parent Q&A, because these seem to be, people seem to be responding well to these, liking just the little bits of, oh, I have this question, I have that question, writing an email. If you have a question before our next Q&A, go ahead and just email me, sarah@studiojune.com, and I'll put it on my list of things to answer. And stay connected through Instagram or Facebook, which is The Studio June. Join our email list at studiojune.com, or just email me. Stay connected, and you will get notifications when our next ones are out. Things to remember. Okay. Things to think ahead here is, so we're doing our free baking classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays every morning, Central Time Zone, 9 a.m. If you want to join us for that, there is all of the supply lists and recipes are posted on our website under online classes, and you can register for free for those classes there, so we know that you're going to be there. We are also adding an 11 a.m. class on Tuesdays, so those of you on the Pacific Coast, that would be 9 a.m. for you. So if you want to join us, and we're adding a 7 p.m. on Thursday. So if you like to bake in the evening, or if you live in Australia or New Zealand, you can join us for baking classes. We've been getting some great response from all over the world, so we're trying to make it accessible to as many families as possible. So we're continuing to do that. I will post about our next Q&A, and if you have any questions about anything that we covered, like if you want to hear what I had to say again, go back to the YouTube channel, and this will be posted there, and you can rewatch. And if you have any friends that you think this would help, please point them this way, because we want to support you guys while you're at home. I know these days can be long and hard with young children, and it's good. We're depending on all of you moms and dads to stay calm and be ready for when we can be back out in society again. Okay, thanks everyone. I'll see you soon. Bye.